Have you ever felt the ground beneath your feet suddenly start to shake? It can be a very surprising and sometimes scary feeling. This shaking is what we call an earthquake. Imagine our planet, Earth, as a giant puzzle. It's not one solid piece. The outer layer, called the crust, is broken into huge pieces. These pieces are called tectonic plates. They are always moving, but usually we don't feel it because they move very, very slowly. They move about as fast as your fingernails grow. An earthquake is the sudden, rapid shaking of the Earth caused by the release of energy stored in the Earth's crust. It's a natural event that reminds us our planet is alive and constantly changing. So what exactly happens to cause this sudden jolt? Think about trying to break a stick. You bend it, and you can feel the pressure building up. Then, all at once, snap! The stick breaks and all that stored energy is released in a quick burst. An earthquake is very similar. The giant tectonic plates are constantly pushing against each other, pulling apart or sliding past one another. When the edges or faults of these plates get stuck, a huge amount of stress builds up. When the stress becomes too great for the rocks to handle, they suddenly break or slip, releasing all that pent-up energy in waves that travel through the Earth and make the ground shake. This shaking doesn't just happen in one spot. The place underground where the rock breaks is called the focus of the earthquake. The point on the Earth's surface directly above the focus is called the epicenter. The energy travels outward from the focus in all directions, like ripples in a pond when you toss in a stone. These energy waves are called seismic waves. Scientists, called seismologists, use special instruments called seismographs to measure these waves. The strength or magnitude of an earthquake is measured on a scale, most famously the Richter scale, which helps us understand how powerful the shaking was. It's important to remember that earthquakes are a completely natural part of how our planet works. They have been happening for billions of years, long before people were around. These powerful events have shaped the very mountains and valleys we see today. While we cannot stop them from happening, we can learn a lot about them. By understanding what an earthquake is and why it happens, we can take smart steps to protect ourselves, our homes, and our communities. Science helps us turn fear into knowledge, and knowledge is the first step towards safety. So let's consider this. Science is the key to being prepared. Let's dive deeper into the incredible forces that cause our planet to tremble. The main reason for most earthquakes is the movement of tectonic plates. The Earth's crust isn't a single smooth shell like an eggshell. Instead, it's cracked into about a dozen major plates and many smaller ones. These plates float on the semi-molten layer beneath them, called the mantle. Convection currents in the mantle, driven by heat from the Earth's core, cause these plates to drift around the globe. They crash into each other, pull away from each other, or grind alongside each other. This constant, slow-motion dance is what drives the engine of earthquakes. The boundaries where these plates meet are called fault lines, and they are the hotspots for seismic activity. There are three main types of plate boundaries, and each one causes earthquakes in a slightly different way. First, we have convergent boundaries, where two plates collide head-on. If one plate is an oceanic plate and the other is a continental plate, the denser oceanic plate will slide underneath the continental plate in a process called subduction. This grinding motion can cause some of the most powerful earthquakes on the planet. This is happening right now along the coast of South America and Japan, an area known as the Ring of Fire. Next, there are divergent boundaries, where two plates are pulling apart from each other. As they separate, molten rock or magma from the mantle rises up to fill the gap, creating new crust. This process usually happens on the ocean floor, at places called mid-ocean ridges. The earthquakes that occur here are typically smaller and less damaging than those at convergent boundaries. Think of it like slowly tearing a piece of paper. It creates lots of small vibrations along the tear. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge is a famous example of a divergent boundary where this process is actively occurring. Finally, we have transform boundaries, where two plates slide horizontally past one another. The edges of the plates are not smooth, so they get snagged and locked together. As the rest of the plates continue to move, incredible amounts of strain build up along the fault. When the strain overcomes the friction holding the rocks together, they violently slip, releasing energy as an earthquake. The San Andreas Fault in California is one of the most well-known transform faults in the world. Understanding these plate movements is the foundation of earthquake science and helps us predict where earthquakes are most likely to occur, which is a critical piece of information for building safer cities. When an earthquake strikes, the effects can be immediate and far-reaching, impacting people, buildings, and the natural environment in dramatic ways. The most direct effect is the ground shaking itself. This vibration can cause buildings and bridges to sway, crack, and even collapse if they are not built to withstand such forces. The intensity of the shaking can vary greatly depending on your distance from the epicenter and the type of ground you are on. Soft, sandy soil can amplify the shaking much more than solid bedrock, a phenomenon known as liquefaction, where the soil behaves like a liquid. This can cause buildings to sink or tilt. The human impact of a major earthquake can be devastating. The primary danger comes from falling objects and collapsing structures. People can be injured by debris, furniture, or shattered glass. In areas with poorly constructed buildings, the risk is much higher. Beyond the immediate physical dangers, earthquakes can disrupt essential services we rely on every day. Power lines can be knocked down, water and gas pipes can break, and communication systems like phone lines and the internet can go down. This can make it very difficult for emergency responders to reach those in need and for families to contact each other. Earthquakes also trigger other natural hazards, which can sometimes be more destructive than the shaking itself. In coastal areas, a powerful earthquake under the ocean can displace a massive amount of water, creating a series of giant waves called a tsunami. These waves can travel across entire oceans and cause catastrophic flooding when they reach land. On land, the intense shaking can destabilize hillsides and mountains, leading to landslides and rockfalls that can bury entire communities. These secondary effects show how one natural event can set off a chain reaction of other dangerous events. The environment is also profoundly changed by earthquakes. The landscape itself can be permanently altered. The ground can split open, creating large fissures, rivers can be rerouted, and new lakes can form. The sudden release of stress in the Earth's crust can cause the land to rise or fall by several meters. While these changes can be destructive, they are also part of the natural process that builds mountains and shapes our world over geological time. Understanding these wide-ranging effects is crucial for developing building codes, planning emergency responses, and creating communities that are more resilient to the power of our dynamic planet. Knowing what to do before, during, and after an earthquake can make a huge difference. Preparation is the key to safety. Before an earthquake ever happens, you should create a plan with your family. Decide on a safe meeting place outside your home and another one outside your neighborhood in case you get separated. You should also assemble an emergency kit. This kit should include essentials like water, 1 gallon per person per day, non-perishable food for at least 3 days, a flashlight with extra batteries, a first aid kit, a whistle to signal for help, and any necessary medications. Keep this kit in an accessible place where you can grab it quickly. You should also take steps to make your home safer. This is called seismic retrofitting. Secure heavy furniture like bookcases, refrigerators, and water heaters to the walls using flexible straps or brackets so they won't topple over during shaking. Place heavy objects on lower shelves. It's also a good idea to check for potential hazards, like hanging pictures or mirrors over beds. By securing these items, you reduce the risk of injury from falling objects, which is a major danger during an earthquake. Knowing how to turn off your home's main gas and water valves is also a very important skill to learn beforehand. When the ground starts to shake, your immediate actions are critical. The most important advice is drop, cover, and hold on. Drop to your hands and knees to prevent being knocked over. Take cover under a sturdy table or desk. If there is no shelter nearby, move to an inside corner of the room and cover your head and neck with your arms. Hold on to your shelter until the shaking stops. If you are outdoors, move to an open area away from buildings, trees, and power lines. If you are in a vehicle, pull over to a clear location, stop, and stay in the vehicle with your seatbelt on until the shaking stops. After the shaking stops, stay calm and be prepared for aftershocks, which are smaller quakes that can follow the main one. Check yourself and others for injuries and provide first aid if you're trained. Carefully check your home for damage, and if you smell gas or see signs of a fire, get everyone out and move to a safe location. Use your phone only for emergency calls to keep the lines open. Listen to a battery-powered radio for official news and instructions. By preparing ahead of time and knowing the right steps to take, you can face an earthquake with confidence and greatly increase your safety. Remember, it's not about being scared, it's about being smart and prepared.